Hi, I'm Dave Epstein. Welcome to this edition of Growing Wisdom, and today we're going into the vegetable garden. This time of year, I've got a lot of things planted in the vegetable garden, but I also have a lot of things not planted in the vegetable garden because we're in sort of the second week of May. We're not quite into the third week. I haven't put my tomatoes in. We're zone 6. Some of you on a warmer zone would have already put your tomatoes in, even peppers or eggplants. We just haven't done it here yet. It's just not consistently warm enough at night. But what we have planted is doing really well. And let me show you some of the things and talk to you about, in my mind, how I've put some of these beds together. So this first bed we're taking a look at, you can see I've got a tall variety of peas in the back. Those are my sugar snap peas, and then we move forward to some of my shelling peas, which don't get as big. And then in front of that, we've got some spinach and we've got some radishes, and those are all doing pretty well. So we have this kind of tiered approach in this raised bed with the taller things in the back getting that sunshine and not shading the things that are in the front. Now, eventually the peas will disappear and I'll have to plant something else back there sometime in July. So what might I plant there? Well, I might plant some beans. I might plant another crop of cucumbers or something like that. So this bed can be continually used throughout the season. The bed we're looking at now is not a raised bed, and this is where tomatoes, eggplants, and peppers are going to go. It is my sun bed. It's the bed where I put my warm weather crops. It also has quite a bit of natural moisture. It's fairly close to the wetlands, so I think that some of the moisture gets pulled up from underneath. I don't have to tend to water a lot, although you can see some drip irrigation here. One of the things you want to do before you plant is you want to be sure that your bed is prepared. Now, I'm going to use some plastic red mulch to plant my tomatoes as well as my peppers. I find that it does pretty well. It also keeps the weeds down. You can see some of this stuff here that I used last year, and I'll probably try to reuse it again this year. Before, however, I put it down, I'm going to just kind of clear these weeds away. Notice all the weeds that we have here. These are little crabgrass plants trying to come up inside this bed. We're going to get rid of them with this little collinear hoe. Once we get rid of those weeds, then we can put down the mulch and eventually plant the tomatoes. Here in another bed, we have onions, we have garlic. Those were planted, the garlic was actually planted last fall. You can see how beautifully this is doing. No scapes yet, but the garlic will be harvested sometime later this summer. The onions also harvested later on this summer. Additionally, in this bed, we have some kohlrabi growing, and eventually that'll get harvested probably later on in June. And so these beds can become available for other things later in the season. So later in the season, I might want to plant some daikon radishes. I might want to plant some late spinach as we get towards later in August or September. Some of the cool weather crops, I might try to get another crop of peas here. The theme here is that in this vegetable garden, we are trying to utilize all of our space as much as possible. And then once something is harvested, we pull it out and we plant something else. The final bed here, I have mostly fava beans right now, although we do have some greens, a little bit of arugula up front. I didn't necessarily lay this out correctly, and so one of the things I'm showing you is perhaps a mistake. So you can see the fava beans here on the left side. I probably should have done 3 rows in the back and left the front open rather than do this L shape. Nevertheless, they're coming up. They won't be harvested for another couple of months. They're still relatively short. And I love growing fava beans. It's just a great crop. It's high in protein. It's easy to grow. And unlike some of the warm weather beans, it can be planted early, or they can be planted early. You can put these in sometime in late March or early April. As soon as you get into the ground, they really do like the cold and the cool, damp weather. So fava beans are another crop that you can grow. So overall here, we've given you a little bit of a look at the garden, the vegetable garden in mid-May. We'll take another look at it throughout the growing season. We can see how things have progressed. We'll certainly have our tomatoes in another week or so, and also peppers, eggplants, and all the other warm weather crops. For Growing Wisdom, I'm Dave Epstein.